sense because Ridley Scott, this is a historical epic, medieval French epic. Oh, hi. Just getting things set up for today's episode. This is another Patreon request, and this one comes from Andrew Shepard. With his ongoing patronage, he was able to get a flick of his choice covered right here on the program. I'd like to thank him, but also for today's pick as well. It's one I haven't seen since high school, so it's pretty fascinating when you look back on these types of feature films and wonder whether they hold up or don't, and just see what all the hubbub is about. So, if it wasn't for that, well, I wouldn't have my collection. That's the best way to put it, so thanks, Andrew. If you have a flick of your choice you want to see covered right here on the show, go over to my Patreon page, make a donation. I'll see if I can put it in. And also, don't forget to check out some polls that I have going on to choose what upcoming reviews might be. I know there's one coming for the summer that's all action-themed orientated, so check that out as you will. As I get set up here, here's this.
We got a Pepsi, still cold. Name on the back says Spartacus. Is there a Spartacus here to claim this?
I'm Spartacus!
I'm Spartacus!
I'm Spartacus! I'm Spartacus!
I'm Spartacus. I'm Spartacus.
Intensity and eloquence that we haven't seen, I think, since Richard Burton, and he also reminds me of Anthony Hopkins. And the characters here, Joaquin Phoenix, Commodus, the complexity of this character. The man is a monster. He's the monster he knows that his father is going to become.
It's my turn.
But
Commodus
we feel
is
sympathy for
absolutely
him.
transparent compared to somebody like Nero in Quo Vadis, played by Peter Ustinov.
My heart broke for him. This film succeeds in every way, on every level, and I have to say I'm shocked at what you have to say about it.
Absolutely doesn't. Did you see Titus?
You know, I was overwhelmed with the real message of this movie. You know, I mean, I knew that Balian was a reluctant hero in the vein of a Sergio Leone movie kind of hero. You know, he's a very reluctant hero. And I knew that we were making a very unconventional movie, but seeing it all to come together, it's so unusual to have a movie of this size and scale without having a black and white, good guy, bad guy, victory at the end. Having the hero be that kind of a reluctant hero who's really on a journey of spiritual discovery, and it's really a coming of age story for Balian.
Ridley Scott is the kind of director that I have mixed feelings about. I don't think he's terrible at all. There's pros and cons to it, but, yeah, even I admit, his movies can be a visual wonder, but there are times when the characters can lack substance. The concepts and themes explored in his science fiction movies are unique, but the plotline can be lacking or a mess. When his heart is in the right place, you'll get a good movie. And if he makes something inferior, you better hope he didn't raid the liquor cabinet during production. If you want to get a better idea about how I feel about Ridley Scott's work, you can check out my Ledger review. It sums it up pretty well. Yet, if there is two particular genres or sub-genres that I feel Ridley Scott is the best in, it's biographical dramas and historical epics. After all, his first movie was The Duelist, so he knows how to tell history with quite a flair. Yet, if there's one film from his bunch that I keep hearing so much good about, and that many consider quite arguably his best to date, it would be 2005's Kingdom of Heaven. This came out at a time when historical dramas were really pushing to be pure spectacles. I'd argue it had something to do with Titanic and Ridley Scott's own with Gladiator, and can you blame them with the advancement of digital special effects at the time that could recreate the Colosseum, or even show how the Titanic sank? For my guess, these two fueled the idea on wowing audiences with period pieces that ended with explosions and excitement. Many tried, and many failed. Yet Kingdom of Heaven is one of those rare cases where it seems to be honored as a masterpiece by many. In retrospect, I first saw Kingdom of Heaven when I was a sophomore in high school, as my mother would rent whatever movie was out during the weekend, and I had no other choice. We sat down, watched it, and I didn't think much of it. The battle scenes were unique, I remember that much. The plot, not so much. So, I hadn't seen it since then, yet over the years I've noticed it's gotten quite a lot of critical reevaluation and reappraisal. It was just a matter of when was the right time to revisit it. So when I got this Patreon request, I decided to dive right in, rewatch all 2 hours and 20 minutes of this thing, and let me tell you, I can see exactly why this one didn't stick with me pretty well back then. Set in medieval France, the plot centers on a blacksmith named Balin. Through a series of events and situations, he decides to join his father's band of crusaders who are going to Jerusalem. Balin has his sights set on redemption for some things he did that I'll discuss later, but he ends up playing a major role in the 3-day siege of Jerusalem as the Sultan Saladin sought to take the city back from the Christian crusaders. I will try to avoid applying historical accuracy towards this movie here, given I don't know too much about the Third Crusade. But what I do know is how for a while, Hollywood tried to get a blockbuster based on the Crusades off the ground in the 1990s. My best memory is when Carloco Pictures tried to do one with director Paul Verhoeven and Arnold Schwarzenegger, but it was too expensive for a company that had a hard time to avoid becoming bankrupt. With the exception of Robin Hood, I don't think there are too many movies about the Crusades in general, so this was somewhat new territory that was worth going into. This movie does provide a lot of interesting ideas, like questioning one's value of faith and morals amidst all the war and fighting.
So they are dying for what the Pope would command them to do. Yes. But not Christ, I think. Nor this king.
And I do like how it doesn't paint one side as a bad guy. We do see legit reasons why everyone is at each other's throats. There's a moment where a group of crusaders attack a bunch of Saracen caravans, not knowing it was a bunch of innocent people without malicious intent. This is what fuels Saladin's will to strike back, which is understandable. For a historical movie to avoid the pitfalls of saying one side is better or worse than the other is hard to do, so when the battle scenes do take place near the end, it's kind of nerve-wracking to see who comes out on top. Maybe it's because it's been 20 years since I last saw this movie, but I was highly invested when it came to the final battle scenes. There's good attention to detail in how each side uses unique strategies to overcome the other. You're just invested to see who will win and who will get hit the hardest. As tempted as I am to compare these to, say, the battle scenes in Peter Jackson's Return of the King, that would be unfair, but I would argue it carries the same energy and interest. Just minus the giant elephants with barbed wire in the tusks. But you are invested in how much longer it will take until the wall comes down, or how far the soldiers will stick to their will and beliefs. Which says a lot, given the journey to said spectacular material is kind of underwhelming. For a movie this large in scale, you need characters that are able to carry you through these major points, and here is where Kingdom of Heaven falls flat for me within those 2 hours and 20 minutes. Orlando Bloom depicts Balin of Ibelin, and I don't find him that interesting. He is given a motive and reason for why he wants to join the Crusades. They do provide a good crutch for Balin's decision to seek redemption after killing a scheming priest who defiled his wife's burial. I can get behind that. Yet most of the time, he gets sidelined by these other characters who are a bit more interesting. But even they are put to waste. And I wouldn't have a problem with that if the performers they got weren't this memorable to the point I feel they deserve something better. Liam Neeson's in this movie as Balin's father who knights him so he can join the crusade, but after one big fight with the soldiers trying to arrest his son, he dies. Well, I guess I can let that slide given it's the father trying to pass down responsibility to the son, but afterwards, so many other interesting characters kind of come and go. The best example I can give is their take on King Baldwin IV. Edward Norton does a great job playing this king who is trying to remain in command despite being a leper. I love this guy and the idea with it. The notion that no matter what illness or element, this guy will maintain his title and act like a proper king.
I pray you retire unharmed to Damascus. Reynald of Chatillon will be punished. I swear it.
I would gladly enjoy a whole movie about this person, but on paper, this is an interesting character that I can easily see getting his own story. But guess what? He's out of the picture. Well, this is a movie more about the siege of Jerusalem, but when you apply so much interesting material for a short appearance, it makes you wonder why the idea of a leper king was present as a footnote. Hell, they get David Thewlis in this movie, someone who 80% of the time is typecast as a bad guy. Here, he's a hospitaller, and when I was getting so annoyed at how many characters were coming and going, I thought, okay, there's no way they could do this guy wrong. He seems pretty cool. But nope, he goes off to battle, he dies. From a technical standpoint, I'm just miffed at how you get all these incredible talents and kind of waste them. I understand that in a war movie, things need to happen. Certain moments have to progress the plot. But when you have big names that are kind of put to waste, or more unique ideas that stand out on their own, it's going to rub me the wrong way. I mean, you really want me to care about Balin that bad? I'm sorry, but I feel Orlando Bloom only comes to life during the final third. Most of the time, he's kind of mopey and distant compared to how lively and alive everyone else appears. For the most part, Kingdom of Heaven only comes to life when the action scenes take place. Outside of that, the only things carrying it is the main character, who's not really that interesting to me, or just seeing certain historical figures and certain events that took place in that time period, which could be interesting, but something feels very lacking here. Like as if there needs to be more stuff fleshed out. But just for that short derainder, that 2 hours and 20 minutes, you don't really feel much of it. With the exception of the climactic action scene, you could probably write this off as a serviceable summer blockbuster flick. But let me tell you, it drags in places. Oh Lord. When there's no action, boy, does it drag. But those are just my 2 cents on the theatrical cut. Hey, did you know there's a director's cut that's way better?
It's intermission time. During the next 10 minutes, you're invited to visit the refreshment stand, where you'll be greeted with fast, friendly service. You'll find hot dogs, juicy hamburgers, and mouth-watering delicious pizza. There are refreshing hot and cold beverages, ice-cold cola, and orange drink. Goes great with an order of crispy French fries. Then there's a wide selection of your favorite candies and other delicious snacks. And there's always a fresh batch of hot buttered popcorn to go with the rest of the show. So visit the refreshment stand now during this 10-minute intermission and add to your enjoyment of the movie. We're happy to have you with us tonight and hope you'll come back often. And now, showtime.
Even when covering a Ridley Scott movie, one must take note at how he likes to expand and let his movies breathe a little bit. Unfortunately, when it comes to pleasing the studio heads, there are moments where some extra breaths and moments of lyrical rhythm make their way to the cutting room floor. Kingdom of Heaven falls in the ranks of, say, Legend, Blade Runner, and, to some degree, even Napoleon, that might have lost some identity when making their way to post-production, which is a normal thing that does happen. But, in comparison, this one really got mistreated. Between trying to please studio executives and observing test screenings, this 3-hour epic was chopped down, and it feels disheartening to know what ended up in theaters was only bare bones. The good news is that work on the director's cut took place 1 month after the movie's release. Despite getting mixed reviews and underwhelming performance at the box office, it was generous to let Ridley Scott make his own intended version. Even the editor, Dodie Dorn, felt lucky to still have some of the editing workspace project files of key segments, so they didn't have to reconstruct the whole movie from scratch. This isn't a case where they took a print of the theatrical cut and spliced stuff back in. They were fortunate to have the original editing timelines that contain parts of the movie with the deleted footage already intact, making the whole construction easier. Even if this director's cut clocks in at a little over 3 hours, I will admit, Having seen this edit for the first time, I was flabbergasted to see how so much sophistication was sacrificed just for the sake of commercial value. A key example is Balin's motivation, which is greatly established and fleshed out more here. We are given extra time to understand his grieving with key flashback scenes and the sublime environment he lives in. If that wasn't enough, we discover the town priest is Balin's half-brother and is the absolute definition of pure douchebaggery. Seriously, this is important material that was needed in the theatrical cut. While we understand the greedy nature, it almost feels like this guy has been the bane of Balin's mental torture, which how he treats Balin by spreading around gossip on him.
My brother, my Lord Bishop, is possessed by the devil and must be examined.
And mistreats the burial of Balin's wife. It's no wonder Balin joins his father in the Crusades as he murdered a family member. It becomes more than a quest for redemption, but also means to serve his father in hopes he'll make up for his sins. Speaking of which, we even get more time with Liam Neeson and David Thewlis to understand their characters better. In the theatrical, it appears Balin's father is just taking a quick pit stop and moving on. In the director's cut, it lasts for about a day as Balin's father is there to check up on his son, knowing he's having a hard time trying to get over the depressing demise of his wife. It establishes how much care he has for Balin, and we get a deeper father and son bond here. So when Liam is out of the movie, David Thewlis comes in and acts as sort of a mentor in this version. I admittedly enjoyed the scenes with Bloom and Thewlis, considering how much help the hospital tries to provide, and the dialogue between these two is very philosophical, especially when they use the Moses story to test the existence of God.
One spark. A creosote bush. There's your Moses.
It does not mean that there is no God.
So when Thewlis is killed off screen, it makes for a dramatic turn for Balin to defend Jerusalem after seeing someone close to his father, and not to mention be caring, could perish like that. Even Ava Green as Sibylla gets a deep story arc that makes her character more than just a love interest to Balin. After her brother, King Baldwin IV, dies, the theatrical cut has a curious moment where her husband, Guy de Lusignan, is made King of Jerusalem. But a whole chunk happened before that, which adds an emotional layer to Sibylla. In the director's cut, we see Baldwin's younger nephew be crowned king, but his reign doesn't go very long. Historically speaking, we never found out what Baldwin V died of, but in the movie's case, it's hinted that he too has leprosy like his uncle. Given Sibylla is his mother, she's given the difficult option to let her son suffer, or provide some mercy so he doesn't have to endure it, by good old poison in the ear. With this entire section gone, it makes it look like as if Sibylla just comes off crazy for no reason in the theatrical cut, or else in the longer cut, that decision to kill her son gives a sense of regret that haunts her deeply in the final third. Wish to take a guess as to why this was removed? Because the studio executives felt uncomfortable seeing the boy perish, despite it being historically significant and important to the narrative. And believe me, I was shocked to hear about the amount of back and forth talk there was as to whether to let it remain a theatrical cut, even to the point 2 particular edits were made, one with Baldwin V and one without. This isn't just a small, tiny plot point. No. As without it, the final third feels completely uneven, as Sybil appears to grieve about her late brother for no apparent reason. This is a major emotional beat. We are talking about the literal heart of the movie being ripped out, all for the sake of studio interference and concern of commercial value, as well as length. Let me tell you, just when you thought seeing When Love Is Gone get cut from Muppet Christmas Carol was painful enough, hearing about this is way more disheartening. I also didn't get to talk about Martin Shozak's take on Guy de Lusignan in the theatrical cut, because his character doesn't have much of an arc in that version. If there was one nitpick I did have, which might contradict what I said earlier, they really try to make Guy this big antagonist when everyone else is two-sided. However, I can't let this slide, given Guy's determination is to hold on to his title as King of Jerusalem, given how much power he doesn't have. He climbed his way to the position and doesn't want to hand over Jerusalem or make peace with the Muslims. It's an interesting contrast as no matter how many times both sides fight, Saladin tries to give some respect to King Baldwin IV. But when he's gone, Guy is more focused on greed and corruption given the position he's in. If that wasn't relevant enough today... In the theatrical cut, Guy is captured and we don't see him again, as Balin is left to defend the city. But he does make a fair deal with Saladin, showing how things can be done without the use of war after all. In the director's cut, Guy returns and engages Balin in a small sword fight that leaves him humiliated. And considering how much trash Guy gave Balin throughout the whole movie, it feels weird to have a lack of comeuppance to your antagonist in the theatrical cut. By leaving his fate open, it kind of gives one to wonder what might have happened to him. Although, I personally feel you do need that moment where the corrupt moron needs to be taught a lesson after giving hell to the protagonist. Now, I'm not going to go over every single addition that is in this director's cut, as everything else is just little extra beats of violence or tiny little pieces of intellectual dialogue added back in, but what I want to talk about were the crucial parts that I feel were needed for a movie like this. By simply snipping out the emotional pieces, Kingdom of Heaven is just left with being a historical drama that seems to ride on action than sophisticated emotion. And let me tell you, this is a rare case. Okay, maybe not that rare, but this is a very special case where I believe the director's cut is the one version you should see. It is amazing to see how one or two major changes in editing can really hamper a masterpiece. The theatrical cut just feels like a serviceable popcorn flick. But the director's cut makes up for it by giving character motivations that feel really needed. And given my time of seeing so many movies with different cuts released to home video that put themselves on a pedestal and claimed, "This is the version you must watch," this extended edition of Kingdom of Heaven is an important piece of cinema history, and it's rare of me to even say that. It appears Ridley Scott disowns the theatrical edit, as the current release only features the director's cut, which I'm fine with. So don't just see the director's cut, because final verdict is own it and watch the roadshow version of the director's cut. Having an intermission does help, in all honesty. Whew. Man. You know, it feels good to give something a second chance after 20 years. And yet, there's an old unfamiliar feeling that I haven't felt in a long time. A good old feeling. It's just one big question remains. Hello, old friend. I do miss the old show. In a strange way. It felt like heaven to me. More than that, it was everything.
Everyone is trying to get to the bar. The name of that bar bar is called heaven. And the band in heaven, they play my favorite song. They play it once again. They play it all night long. Oh, in heaven, heaven is a place where nothing.
Cut.
What is Jerusalem worth? Everything.
Don't be alarmed. It's only the death breath of the Dark Lord. Don't be scared. It's only an Imperial cruiser making the jump to light speed. Relax. It's only a movie, and it's all for fun.
Come on, just tell me, what's playing here?
Star Wars, right? Star Wars?
Star Wars?